Tasters, welcome to Walker Tea Review, where the word of the day is white, as in white Christmas, as in white tea, as in silver needle, which is a white tea, which we're going to be looking at today. We're going to be talking about this tea as part of our way to introduce teas to you if you're looking for new teas. Two, if you're going to join us for tea tastings, this is the tea that we're going to be tasting together today. I hope you have your equipment ready, your water brought to a fairly light boil for a white tea, and that you are ready to join with us, interact, add your comments, share your tea tasting experience, because we all experience teas in slightly different ways. And so by sharing our experiences, we can learn more about how to appreciate these teas. We can get our tea ready to go. And we've got as we said, a silver needle, which is a kind of white tea. It's kind of tricky to get out of this sample package here. So I'm going to kind of load up my spoon so that you can see, get a rough idea of just how much I'm actually putting in this gaiwan. This is about a 4 or 5 ounce gaiwan. Now I'm going to load this up pretty heftily, because white teas generally don't release as much flavor as say a black tea or a green tea, so you need more volume to compensate for that usually. So I'm going to take a pretty hefty looking teaspoon here, add that in. That should be enough. If not, the way we can compensate for that is a little bit longer steep time. You don't want to use a high temperature water. You want to let it come close to a boil, maybe even cool off a little bit after that. So we're going to add our water in now. Swirl it around so that everything gets kind of coated in water. You don't have dry needles floating on top. Add just a wee bit more. We'll set our water down, get that out of the way. Lid this like so, and set this aside. Give it some time to steep. And we'll be able to talk about this tea and introduce this tea. Again, if you want to join us for tea tasting, go right up above and click on the button that tells you how to join a tea tasting. It tells you about upcoming teas that we're going to be looking at together. And also, you'll be able to follow the links to also talk about how to taste, so that you get an idea of what kind of equipment we said before, and how to taste, what a tea tasting process involves. We're going to look, as we look at this tea together. This is a silver needle, we said, from Adagio Teas. That's adagio.com. This tea, a sample size like this, runs $4. You often get samples when you order from Adagio, so that's something to consider as well. This particular tea comes from Fujian province, so that's a little bit of information about what part of China this tea comes from. And Fujian is the traditional origin, or at least the most dominant origin for silver needle type teas. Okay, so let's look at this tea with a little more depth now. Get a little bit of smell from the dry leaf. This tea has, the dry leaf is giving us notes, and they're characteristic of a lot of other teas, although this one's got some pretty clear, kind of a starchy, like a cucumber, like it's almost like a papery type aspect to it. Oh, and ever so subtle, kind of light, spicy, almost peppery type aspect to it coming off of that. When you look at the leaf itself, the name silver needle really tells you, is a pretty good descriptor of what's happening here. You are getting these tips or these buds of the tea tree. They are fuzzy, and so they have this fuzzy nature gives it a silvery color, silvery green color there. It is a needle shape. It is a very narrow, long, slender type of bud there, and that's pretty much it. When you look at a tea and you go through a tea tasting, you're looking at the dry leaf, which we've just done. You're looking at the wet leaf, which we're going to be doing next, and then of course the liquor. As far as equipment goes, we've talked about, you have options like the gaiwan, the covered bowl here, which is a traditional Chinese style. I often use a Chinese style when I'm preparing a Chinese tea, of course. When you use a black tea, especially something that's been what's called CTC, that cut or crushed hair curl, you get finely chopped pieces. And with something like that, it's often useful to have a tea taster set like this, which comes with a cup, which has an opening for pouring. You have a lid, and you have a bowl, and so that you're actually preparing your tea in the cup, and you are then pouring into the bowl here. And the advantage of this bowl and cup set is that it's designed to rest just like so, pretty hands-free, allows you to pour, allows you to look at your liquor within a white background, so it kind of neutralizes any influence as far as colors go. And also, the unique thing about the tea taster set is you got your leaves in here, you turn it upside down, you shake, your leaves come to rest inside the bottom of the lid here, and you've got a nice way to display, look at, smell your wet leaf as well. Okay, so that's the advantage of a tea taster set. Adagio actually has a tea taster set that you can use. If the Adagio set does not have a hole in the lid, which means when you want to pour, and if you want a smoother, more even pour, you're simply going to stick your thumbnail in between your lid and the top of your cup, allow some air to get through so you get a smoother pour. Okay, so set that back like that, and then we'll get to our wet leaf here, so that you also can see a little bit about how pouring from a gaiwan is done. We're going to slant our lid over towards our glass, so the lower part is over towards the glass. Index finger and thumb, longest finger, middle finger and thumb here on the rims, index finger on the lid to hold it in place. And we pour thusly. Of course, the air is entering here through the top of your gaiwan. You are leaving a narrow enough space that leaves don't come through, but you can still get a full pour from that. Okay. Get a few more drops. I'm going to shake those last few drops out. The bottom, the taste tends to accumulate towards the bottom where the leaves are. Also, we're going to look at the wet leaf, so we don't want a lot of liquid in there while we're trying to dig around and look at our leaves. Get a couple smells. The first smell, what often hits me is like a cooked green bean type smell, boiled green bean smell. So it's got a bit of a kind of a warm. It's almost like a slightly even toasted green bean. Like if you've done a green bean casserole, there's a little bit of that kind of green bean smell in there as well. As that dissipates off, what you're left with is a slight sweetness, almost like a clover type, dry clover type smell. So you're getting nuances as you experience this tea, as the temperature and aspects of it change. When you look at the leaf itself, that silvery color has disappeared, has given way to what was the greenness of the actual needle. And what you see by a needle, you've got a leaf that unwraps and reveals new tender leaves inside. You can still detect a little bit of kind of fuzzy hairiness aspect. I'm trying to get this one open, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it without tearing the leaf. So I'll set this there. Fujian is not the only area that does a silver needle type. There are some Yunnan, which is in the southwest part of China, that also do a kind of silver needle type as well. So what you're seeing here, and a Yunnan type silver needle, you'll note, one of the things you'll probably note is that those needles are larger than these. So these are a smaller but more original type of silver needle. This one's going to peel open again and give us a nice new leaf with another new leaf, and you can actually still see the hairs, dominant, strong-looking hairs on this little needle or tip there. So that gives us an idea of what this silver needle looks like as far as the dry leaf. I'm sorry, the wet leaf. Let's go ahead and look at our liquor now. We've got a pale yellow color there, which is typical, not uncommon of a white tea. You're pulling off cucumber notes as far as this liquor goes. I'm going to give this a good slurp, which brings in the air, which unlocks a lot of your aromas, which allows them to travel, up, where it allows your taste buds and your nose to really pick up all the tastes and aromas. So slurping is good. Again, characteristic of teas like this, kind of a starchy type taste or feel to it. It does have some of that wet paper type smell or taste to it. You may also associate with kind of a raw potato type starchiness to it. Yeah, that's what I kind of tasted in previous tastings. I'm also checking my notes because first tasting and second tastings can vary slightly. In previous tastings, the aftertaste, the back of it, did pull out or throw out a little bit of a kind of a lemon zest that was there faint and towards the back end of the aftertaste. Light on the on the body, is I should say. But again, there's a lot of white teas have a lighter body. This one is on par with those. Aftertaste carries on that starchy type texture and feel and taste. That's pretty much it. So when you look at this tea, dry leaf, characteristic as far as colors and aromas there. Wet leaf, nothing really new, nothing really out of form though either, as far as the color and aromas coming off of that. Again, starchiness is one of the more dominant aspects. Now, I have tasted silver needles that had a bit more of the clover sweetness to it. This one leaned over towards the starchy aspect. Some of your Yunnan silver needles will extend and bring a further nuance of a kind of a peppery note. So, but that's not what you expect from a Fujian silver needle. This one had the starchiness, had a consistent body, consistent aftertaste as well. Could have brought a little bit more of the sweetness and the clover aspect, nuance to it that was not as present in this one. So we gave this one an 89. Could have brought a little bit of a sweet note to it, as far as a sweet grass. I hate to use the word grass, sweet hay type, sweet clover type aspect. But something to try out, something to kind of use as a good building block for your palate. To say, does this one have the right balance of starchiness and sweetness for me? Something that you want to explore and try. And come back and tell us what the experience was for you and share it with us here at Walker Tea Review.